Good evening. This program is being presented as a partnership between the St. Louis County Library History and Genealogy Department and the Tri-State Genealogical Society in Evansville, Indiana. My name is Scott Hall, manager of the History and Genealogy Department. Today is Tuesday, November 10th, and the time is 6:50 p.m. Thank you for joining us. Today's class, using Ortssippenbu to research your German ancestors, will be taught by Dan Lillingkamp. This presentation will be recorded and made available on the St. Louis County Library website and on the library's YouTube channel. If you are viewing this Zoom webinar live, you are encouraged to type questions using the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. The instructor will answer questions at the end of this session. I have put a link to the class handout in the chat. I will now turn this over to Dan and we will begin the class.
Well, good evening. It's good to be here tonight doing this virtual program. And, let's get started. So Ortssippenbu, what are they? It's kind of a long-looking German word. Sometimes they're also known as Familienbuch or Ortsfamilienbuch. And they're sources of genealogical information about families within a specific town or village or parish. And the information can cover many, many generations of a family. Typically, they go back as far as records exist in the area. So, since we're talking about Germans, generally that's generally that's back to about the 30 Years' War. So history and genealogy here at St. Louis County Library's got one of the largest collections of these anywhere, and definitely the largest collection on our side of the Atlantic Ocean. If you go to our webpage, in addition to a discussion about them, you can find that we have links that list all of our books by either county, state, and district, or alphabetically by village name. So if you know the name of the town or village that your ancestors came from, it's worthwhile to go in there and check and see if we have one in our collection. Now, right now, because of the pandemic, we are not open to the public, but we are taking requests through our lookup procedure. So if you know the town and you know the name, we're happy to look up and scan and make copies for you and then email them back to you. We don't charge for that. We also have this map, and you can click on the individual links and make it bigger so that you can really see them. And if you're more of a geographical visual person, you'll be able to maybe find it on the map more easily than out of the list. And even if you don't, it's kind of impressive to see the geographic spread of this, everything from the Banat in what's now Romania up to the farther East Prussia area that's now part of Poland, and as far west as Alsace. A number of these are also online. They're obviously a little different because it's in a database format rather than a book format, but there's a lot of them that are only available online, and it's worth looking here on genealogy.net. The link is in the handout for that, and maybe you'll find your town listed here. And there is the link if you don't find it in the handout. So what do you do with these things? That's the tricky part, right? I mean, it's great. We've got these books, but so what? That's the problem with so many resources is, so what? We've got it, but what do you do with it? So what I want to spend most of the time tonight on is digging through an actual example and working one family all the way back. I'm going to start with my great-great-grandmother, Charlotte Lillienkamp, née Vonig. And this is her death certificate. And if we look closely, we can see that her date of birth is November 24th, 1837. She was born in Germany, which, as you know, is not very useful information if you're trying to find records over there. It gives the name of her father as Henry. Well, it's probably really Heinrich. And it gives her mother's name as Adelheid and last name Wibold. Now, from other sources, in fact, the way I first found out this was I connected online with a fourth cousin who had done a little bit of research. And so we, in fact, know that the family is from Bramsche in Germany. Well, I always look on Google Maps because it's free, and why not, to say, where are these places? And it turns out it's just north of Osnabrück. Now, the other thing I do when I find the name of any town in Germany or the former German Empire is I used to look it up in the Myers Orts Gazetteer. And that was a book put together by the German Empire, listing information about every town, city, village, community in the country listed alphabetically. And it had codes for what was available, be it a train station, a evangelical church, a Catholic church, a railway station, where the courts were. And it looked like it was printed in a Fraktur in pretty small print, and it was all abbreviated, and it looked like the mess on the upper left side of that screen. Well, the nice thing now is this book has been digitized, and it's on myersgaz.org. And not only did they digitize it, but they translated it into English and got rid of the abbreviations so we can just read and see what it is. It's always worth checking this out, myersgaz.org, for any town that you're going to research, just to find out if you are researching the right thing. If you're looking for church records and they don't have a parish church there, you need to find another town nearby where they went to church. I'm trying to, I have some claim to that I am a reasonable genealogist, and so in doing so, I use the forms. And so I'm going to start with my 4-generation chart and just include the information that I know. And pretty much this is all stuff that I've gotten off the death certificate and a few other local sources about deaths of these people. Now, all things being equal, my first thought would be to go to Family Search. And it turns out Bramsche is available in Family Search. But there's more than one. And when I look on them, they've all got the little key over the camera, which means I can't access them. History and Genealogy is, in fact, a partner library with Family Search. So that means that the level you need to be at is higher. So probably you have to go to Salt Lake City to look at these records. So as nice as that would be, and as cool as that would be, and how I'd love to go to Salt Lake City and look at these records, the fact is right now they're kind of inaccessible. But fortunately, we have Ortssippenbu for this area. In this case, Leben and Scherben in Kirkspiel, Bramsche, Hasse. And this is a 7-volume set. Each volume covers a different village within the overall Bramsche church. And when I look through these, and it's just a matter of going through page by, book by book to see if I can find the family. And I do find this family. And I look at it and it's like, is this the right one? Well, Johann Heinrich Koenig, that looks reasonable. Says he's a Heuermann, a worker. He's in Risti, number 49, and that's part of the Landwehrs Leibzug. He's Lutheran. He was born in Pente, in Stroa specifically. He was born on the 25th and baptized on the 30th of March, 1817. Now, this even gives the page of the church book that they've got it from. It says he died in the USA. Well, we know that because I've found his death record here. And most importantly, it gives the name of his father and the year of the father's marriage and residence. And the reason the residence is important is it tells me which of these volumes to go to find it. It also has this note, 1848 mit Frau und Kindred nach USA ausgewandert, which would translate as in 1848, he and his wife and children emigrated to the US. So this is looking pretty likely to be the correct family. Got a date of marriage for them, the 20th of April, 1837. Wife's name, Maria Adelheid Thubold. That's dead on. Birthplace in Riste. Born on the 17th and baptized on the 24th of September, 1806. So actually she was a few years older than her husband. She died in the USA, and her father was Hermann Heinrich Thubold, and he got married in 1804. It's also got the list of all the children, their birthplace, their birth and baptismal place, and other information. And the other information could be almost anything. It could be who they married. It could be that they died young. In this case, it indicates that they emigrated to the United States. So now I'm going to put that in my family group sheet and get all my information together. And then I'm going to go back to my 4-generation chart and look at this. The highlighted area information is everything that I've gotten off of this one entry in this book. It's quite a lot. But now I'm going to look at the father's father. I could look at any of them. And in fact, typically when I do a talk, I usually go up the female line because people think that's impossible. But I've gone back the female line on another talk that I do. So I'm not going to do that this time. So what we know is his name was Johann Heinrich Vonig, and he got married in 1813. So I'm going to look for him. These listings are alphabetical by the last name, and then they're just in order of the marriages after that. It's pretty easy to find them in these books. I love alphabetized lists, and I love books that are typed in the Roman alphabet. And so I found this family. It's Johann Heinrich Vonig, married in 1813. But let's look at the whole thing. Let's see how we would identify that this is in fact correct. So we know we're looking for Johann Heinrich. We found him. Correct year of marriage, 1813. And they've got the correct child. In other words, the child that I'm descended from is listed among this guy's children. So that kind of tells me that I'm on the right track, that this is the right record. So let's examine this record like we did the other one. So his position, here's a hireman. He was a hired hand, basically, on a farm. He lived in story number 24, and that's the Lütkenlebsbuch. He was born in Stroa, another one of these little villages. His birth was the 7th, and his baptism was the 15th of April, 1792. They don't have a record of his death. We don't know when the guy died. But we do know his father was Hermann Balthasar Vonig, and he got married in 1769. But we've also got information about when Hermann Heinrich got married, which was the 2nd of December, 1813. Well, we knew 1813 from before. His wife was Anna Maria Voskamp. She was born in Stroa, born on the 9th of October, 1785. Don't know when she died. And her father was Johann Heinrich Voskamp, married in 1785. And we've got the names of all of their children, the birthplace of all the children, the baptism and birth dates of the children, and the other information. Now, in this case, they generally say who the child married, except for the last one, whose name was, well, it generally have a name. It's a Tochterlein, little daughter, and it says she was totgeboren or stillborn. So we have even the information of that in this record. So I'm going to come back and look at this. Again, quite a lot of information. I'm making great progress here filling out this 4-generation chart. So I want to look at his father now, Herman Balthasar Vonig. And of course, as always happens when I pick a family to do a talk on, it splits between a couple of pages. You'll see this all the time. If you see any talk by me, it's going to split between 2 pages. It always happens. But we can put it together on the screen as we make it big enough to see. So again, we do our usual test. Do we have the correct name of the individual? Well, Herman Balthasar Vonig, that looks right. Marriage in 1769, that looks right. And we have Johann Heinrich as one of his kids. And also, according to this, Johann Heinrich married Anna Maria Voskamp. So we're good. This is the right family. So again, we've got his name. He was also a hired hand, this time in Stroia, number 4, which is the Wollerichsleibzug. He was born on the 1st of August, 1746 in Stroia, and he died on the 30th of March and buried on the 1st of April, 1808. His cause of death was Brustkrankheit. That's chest disease. Now that's a little vague, but back then they were probably a little vague about some of these causes of death. I would guess it might have been pneumonia. It might have been tuberculosis. Could be almost anything, but something to do with the chest and lungs. He was 62 years old when he died, and his father was Johann Rudolf Vonig, 1743 marriage. He himself was married on the 20th of April, 1769 to Christina Adelheid Strohschneider. She was from the town of Schagen, baptized on the 8th of September, 1748. And she died in December of 1800 in Stroa. Her cause of death was Ruhr, that's dysentery, and she was 52 years old. And her father was Johann Heinrich Strohschneider, who was married in 1747. Again, we put this information on. We're at the end of our 4-generation chart, so we've got to start another one. So now I'm going to look at his father. And again, the same test. We've got Johann Rudolf Vonig, who was married in 1743, and a son named Herman Balthasar Vonig. So again, looking at him, that's his name, of course. According to this, he was a Zimmermeister. That's a master carpenter. So he had a pretty significant trade, but for whatever reason, his son and grandson and on down the line, they just became hired hands on the farm. No idea why. And he lived in Stroa number 4, which is the Wollerichsleibzug. He was born in Seglin in 1750 and died on the 20th and was buried on the 22nd of February, 1766 in Stroa. His illness was 7 Tage an der Plur. It's 7 days with pleurisy. He was 51 years old when he died. His father was Rotke Vonig, and he was married in 1711 in the community of Seglin. Again, the date of marriage, 17 November, 1743. His wife was Anna Maria Wollerich. She was born in Stroa in 1712, died on the 10th, buried on the 12th of June, 1766. The cause of death, Wassersucht und 9 Tage an der Plur, which is dropsy and 9 days of pleurisy. She was 54, and her husband, or her father rather, was Berend Wollerich, who was married in 1697. So we're moving back in time pretty rapidly here. Let's look at his father. So Rotke Vonig, we're looking for, this would be the right name. 1711 was the year of marriage, and has got the son, Johann Rudolf. So again, this looks like the correct family. So his name. Now here's Colonius Halberbe. Colonius sounds like an important title, but it's a tenant farmer. I'm not descended from nobility. I'm descended from good peasant blood, as probably most of us are. He lived in Saglen number 11. He was born there on the 2nd of April, 1679. He died on the 23rd of December, 1728, at 49 years old. And his father was also Rotke Vonig, who was married in 1670. His marriage took place on the 2nd of July, 1711, to Anna Katharina Lücke Bernecke. She was from another community, Großdrelle, in Kreisgerde, and she was born in 1686. She died in Saglen on the 18th of November, 1728, 42 years old. And there's not a record here of her parents because she was born in another community that wasn't part of this church. So they didn't have access to that information. Still, we're filling this up. We're doing good. Let's look for the next Rotke Vonig. And here he is. Correct marriage year, correct child on the list. And he's the Colonus Halberbe, excuse me, in Sagen, number 11, born in Sagen, died somewhere sometime. Don't have the name of his father. We're getting pretty far back. He was married about 1670. His wife's name was Anna, but we don't know her maiden name. We don't know when or where she was born. We do know that she died in Saglen on the 14th of June, 1684, and don't know who her father is. Well, we don't know her last name, so it would be pretty hard to guess the father. Now I'm going to throw caution to the wind and put them on yet another family group sheet, four-generation chart, and see if I can tempt fate and go back a little further with it, even though I don't have much information. Well, if I continue to look, I do find this unknown Vonig. Now, is this the correct named individual? No, because nobody was named. Do we have the correct year of marriage? No, because no marriage was listed in the prior record. But he does have a son called Rotke, who married Anna name unknown. So it would be strongly suggestive that this was in fact his father. So we don't know the first name, but we do know the last name. He was the Colonus Halberbe, which there again, this tenant farm has been passed down through a couple of generations, so that makes sense. He was born in Sogen, died there, have no idea where and when, and we have no idea who his parents are. He got married sometime around 1630. His wife was Catherine Grevemeyer. She was from Hessepe, born in 1603, died in Salgen on the 13th of September, 1675. She was 75 years old, and incredibly, we know the name of her father, Hermann Grevemeyer, and he was married in 1600. And I say incredibly because we have now crossed over the time frame of the 30 Years' War, and we still aren't done. So there's a lot of information. There is no more. There's no older record for anybody with the last name Vonig. We're done. So can we push back on this Grevemeyer name a little bit? And it turns out we can. So there's Herman, correct person, married in 1600 in Hessepa, and has a daughter, Catherine, who married and Vonig, unknown Vonig. Looks like the right people. So look at him. He's the colonius Volerbe in Hessepa #1. He was born about 1575 in Hessepa, and he died before 1663. And his parents are Johann and Greta Grevemeyer, who were married in 1560. Now, Herman and his wife got married about 1600. Her name was Idigthala. She was from Riste, and she died in Hessepa before 1663. Why does it say before 1663? For all these 30 years, war destroyed a lot of records. So when I started record keeping again, she was already dead. And her parents are Arend and Gisa Idling from Rissa. So again, a lot of information. Dare I tempt fate and go to another page? Of course I do, because that's what I do. Well, we find the Grevemeyers. Johann is the correct year of marriage, says about 15, we had 1560 before, this is about 1562, that's pretty close. And got a son, Herman, who married Tala Iding. So we're good. This is the right people. And his wife was Gretka. Don't know her last name. So let's look at him. He was the colonius Volerbe in Hessepa #1. He was born about 1540 in Hessepa. He died after 1601. His father was Johann Grevemeyer. His wife, Gretka, unknown. Well, we don't know when she was born. We do know she died after 1591. We don't know her father. And there's a son, Johann, daughter, Tala, Katharina, Kempa, another Tala, presumably one of these died, or maybe they just liked the name. Greta, and Herman. Now you notice I made Herman a different color because I want to show you something interesting in this record. So with Johann, there's this note that he has this fry brief dated the 2nd of March, 1599. Now what's a fry brief? It's freedom papers. And in fact, Sister Greta got a fry brief in 1596, so a few years ahead of him. And all of the other siblings are listed as fry, free. What I would interpret this to mean is that they were serfs and they had been granted their freedom by the Lord. So prior to that, these people were essentially slaves. They had to work, they had to stay there, they had no choice except to stay there and work on this farm. You know, unlike chattel slavery that we think of here in the United States, they couldn't be sold, they couldn't be traded away, but they had to stay put and work on the farm. Now, there is no record of freedom for my ancestor Herman. If there was, I assume they'd have put it in there, but they didn't. And in fact, if I go back to the previous record, I know I can tie this in because it says Johann and Tale belong to this family. And they do. And it also says he's the servant of Johann the Shepherd, or Johann the Shepherd. So apparently his job on the farm as a serf was to take care of this guy's sheep. Now, like I said, I'm always one to tempt fate. Let's see if we can go even further. And it turns out we can't. We're stuck at Johann Grevemeyer. Is as far back as we're going to go. But as the father that is way back, most German records do not go this far back. We don't know anything more about his mother. We know we're stuck with the Enwonig. We know this Arend Idling and his wife, Gessa. There's nowhere to go with those, but let's just keep working our way back. Well, we already know that Anna Katharina isn't going to show up anywhere because she was born in a different town. Let's look at the Wollerichs. So we've got Berend, and according to our previous knowledge, the marriage took place in 1697, and he's got a daughter, Anna Maria Wollerich. And she married Johann Rudolf Wonig in Penta, which fits perfectly with what we know. So look at him. He's the Colonus Wollerby in Stroy number 4, born in Stroy in 1665. He died on the 12th of March, 1719. He was 54 years old. And his father was Dirk Stockhow Colonius Wollerich. We'll get into that in a minute. Got married in 1668. All right, we'll get into it now. So his name's Wollerich, but his father's name was Stockhow. What's going on? Well, his father was born Stockhow, but when he took over the tenant farm, he had to change his name to Wollerich. It's a phenomenon that happens in Northwest Germany. People take the farm name to be able to farm the land. And this is a case of it. So not only did he take the farm name as his last name, he passed it on to his kids. Berend was married in 1697 to Anna Maria Eckelmann. She was born in Eppe in 1669. He died in Stroa on the 2nd of June, 1719, 50 years old. Her father was Johann Hermann Eckelmann, married in 1666 in Eppe. So I'm going back again. Let's look at this Wollerich or Stockhow and figure out what's going on. Well, there's Derek Stockhow, Colonius Wollerich, the guy we're looking for. The correct year of marriage, 1668. And the correct child, Berend, is listed there. So we're good. But who did he marry? Well, actually, let's go back. He was Colonius Wollerby in Stroa. He was born Riste, died in Stroa. Well, that's not right, 1692, not 1962. Father was Berend, married in 1630 in Riste. Now, he was married in 1668, but to who? It looks like it would be this one right above him, right? Anna Margaretha. But that doesn't make sense because it says she married somebody else. So what's going on? Well, this is the second marriage of somebody, and it's the second marriage of Antika Wollerich. She was born in Wallenhorst in 1645, died in Stroa on the 8th of December, 1711. She died of Krankheit. Well, that's sickness. Yeah, she got sick and she died. That's the cause of death. These old church records are great like this. They tell you that they died for something, and it's not something that we would like to call a cause of death. She was 66 years old, and her father was Johann Baumhof Colonius Wollerich, and he was married in 1625. So her first husband was Heinrich Jungling, and he became Colonius Wollerich because he married her. Her family had the farm. He married her. He became the tenant farmer. He took her last name. He was the Colonus Vollerbill in Stroa number 4. He was born in Schagen, died in Stroa in 1665. No idea who his parents are, but he's not my ancestor, so I don't care. I'll stamp fate and put them on another sheet. Well, here's Beren Staka. He's married in 1630, like we thought. He's got the correct child, Derek, who married Annika Volleruk. So this is this. He's an herb cotter. So basically, it's a gardener. He's got a garden around the house. So it's better than being a hireman, but it is not better than being a tenant farmer. Now, he was Catholic. He was born in Riste in 1603, and he died on the 24th of December in 1680. He was 77 years old, unknown parents, got married about 1630 to Maria Rocklet of Rotterdam. She was born in Steinfurt in 1611. She died on the 29th of March, 1664, and is 53 years old, and we don't know who her parents are. So we're at the end of the road for him, and we're at the end of the road for her. But what about the Vollerichs? Well, there's Johann Baumhof Colonius Vollerich, correct year of marriage, and the correct daughter in the list. He was the Colonius Vollerby at Stroa number 4. He was born in Wallenhurst, died in Stroa. We don't know his parents. Got married about 1625 to Katharina Ostenfeld. Born in Wallenhurst, died in Stroa. And here's an alternative. She might not have been Katharina Ostenfeld. She might have been Katharina Grothaus, born in Hessepe. Not exactly sure. But we're at the end of the line on both of them. He was born outside of the area of this parish. We don't even know for sure what her name was. So yeah, we're done there. But we've got the Eckelmans. And so we know we're looking for Johann Hermann Eckelmann, who was married about 1666 with a daughter, Anna Maria. And in this case, Anna Maria married Brand Vollerich, so we're good. So let's look at him. His Colonius Vollerby in Epa number 12. He was a Lutheran, born in Epa in 1642, died on the 1st of September, 1687. The cause of death was misery from a leg injury. Again, one of these highly scientific causes of death. He's 45 years old, and his father was Heinrich, married in 1630. He himself got married in 1666 to Anna Engel Meyer zu Broxton. She was born in Broxton in Kreis Venne in 1639. She died in Epa on the 28th of November, 1727. She was 78, and her parents were Absika Meyer zu Broxton, Colonius Broxton, and Anna Maria Sophia Meyer zu Schedlehausen. So that's what we've got of them. Can we go any further back with the Eckelmans? Well, we know we're looking for Heinrich. We know he's married about 1630, and we're looking for his son, Johann Hermann. There he is, Colonius Vollerby in Epa number 12. He was Lutheran, born in Epa in 1607, died on the 1st of January, 1670. He was 63 years old. His father was Johann Eckelmann, born in 1596. He got married in 1630. He married Hilsika Mullmann. She was born in Rista in 1597. And she was buried on the 22nd of March, 1671 in the Eppe Jewish Cemetery. Now, if you're buried in a Jewish cemetery, there's a really good chance that you're probably Jewish. So I have Jewish ancestors. How cool is that? She was 79 when she died. And we don't know the name of her parents. So looking at this, we know we can't go any further with her, at least not from the available records in this Ortssippenbu book. But can we find anything more on Johann Eckelmann? And we can. Johann Eckelmann married 1596, and the child, Heinrich Eckelmann, is in the list. Well, according to this, he was a colonius of Ollerby and Eppe number 12, so that tendency has been passed down a number of generations there. He was Lutheran, born in Eppe in 1570, died after 1628. Parents are Hermann and Greta von Eckel, and they were known to be around 1569 to 91. He got married in 1596 to Greta Grevemeyer, born in Hessepe in 1573, and she died in Eppe in 1615, and unknown parents. Well, we don't have any way to go further back on his parents. And I guess we don't have any way to go back on her parents, or do we? Does that name sound familiar? Does that seem like a name that we might have seen before in this book? Of course it is. She's the daughter of Johann Grevemeyer and his wife Greta, last name unknown. I mean, there she is in the Ortssippenbuch. She was born in Hessepe in 1573, and she married Johann Eckelmann of Eppe. Sometimes you just got to go back and check things out. Just because the particular entry you're looking at doesn't know the parents doesn't mean the parents aren't listed in the book, especially if you've seen it before. Go back and check. Well, we've got to go back and let's see what ones we're missing. Are we missing anything? And it looks like we're pretty well done with that entire branch. Now, the next step, of course, which we're not going to do, would be to take the Voskamp line all the way back. And it would be exactly like that. And you'd probably get really tired of seeing me click on these things. And the same way with the Vibold line, we'd need to carry that one all the way back. But we can do that because it's easy to do that in these books. I always tell people with genealogical research, sometimes it's inspiration and sometimes it's perspiration. Sometimes you need the inspiration to dig through the records to find out where the town is they're originally from. But sometimes when you find it, it's just a matter of perspiration and digging through the books to see what we've got, to see where it takes you. And it might take you a week or a month to plow all the way through it, but you just do it and, it's work, but you get your answer. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We are not actually done with the Eckelmanns. There's more to be found on them. So this is a website on GenWiki, and it talks about the farms in Eppe of Bramsche. I just found this by Googling Eppe. Or maybe I Googled Bramsche, I don't know, it was a long time ago. I found this. And as I scroll down, I get a list of these farms. And one of these is number 12, Hof Eckelmann. Have we seen that before? Of course we have. That's the house, the tenant farm that these people were in for generations. Now, it gives some information when I click on this. This is the modern address. This is where it is now. If I wanted to drive there right now, I could put this into Google Maps if I were in Germany and get in the car and it would tell me how to get there. The historic address, well, it was known as EPA number 33, but it was earlier known as 12. Names affiliated with this are in Ecklo, in Echo, De Ecklo, Van Ecklo, Te Ecklo, Zoom Echo, Ten Eckel, Van Eckel, Zoom Eckel, Eckelman. The first mention of this farm is in the year 1223. And there's actually GPS coordinates. So if the modern address doesn't work, I can put that into Google Maps and get there. If I scroll down, there's a picture of the farmhouse. Is it the original one? I don't know, it could be. That looks like the way they used to build them. And then there's all this other information. And we're going to take it from the bottom up because this write-up starts with the farthest back, and we're going to work our way down to the current, or the most recent that's included, and see if it ties into our family tree. So Heinrich Eckelmann married about 1630 Hilke Mollmann. Does that sound familiar? Absolutely. It's this couple. They're the earliest ones mentioned in the book, or mentioned on this website. Then we've got Johann Eckelmann, who married Greta Grevemeyer in 1596 at Hessepe. That's this couple. And you notice I'm not even to the top yet. 1591, Hermann von Eckel appears in the records. His wife was Gretchen. That's this guy. So let's put him here at the beginning of the next chart. And the heir, Johann Eckelmann, well, that's him, unknown wife, but that's that family. Then we got the successor was Heinrich Te Ecklo. Then we get Hermann Te Ecklo. Put him on the beginning of chart number 9. And between 1478 and 1490, Hermann Te Ecklo. I don't remember, did something with Goethe. Oh, the son of Goethe, rather. Eckelmann, who was the son of, from around 1437, Erhard von Ecklo. And then on the 25th of October, 1317, Johannes de Ecklo was in charge of the property, and the farm, as previously mentioned, was first mentioned in the Malgarten Monastery records in the year 1223. Now, all this information came out of this book, which it turns out we have now. It's the Chronik einer Landgemeinde of Eppe. And what this is a Hofgeschichte. It's a farm history book for the farms in this particular area. And there's chapters on each of these families. And in fact, there's a lot more detail about it in here than there was in the original or in the online thing, as you would expect. Somebody extracted some information, put it on a web page. This has got a lot more detail. So again, a Hofgeschichte or a farm history. These are rare-ish. They exist. You can't find them for everyone. Like in this case, we've got one for EPA, but we don't have any for any of the other surrounding communities that went to the church in Bramshire. But we've got this one. Where do you find them? Check in library catalogs, check on WorldCat. We're trying to develop a collection of them. The other problem people are going to encounter when they see something like a book like this, where it's all text and all German, what do you do with it? As long as it's not in Fraktur, there's a simple solution. If it's in the Roman alphabet, scan it, OCR it, and then copy and paste it into Google Translate, and you will get a reasonable translation. It won't be a perfect translation because Google Translate isn't perfect. In fact, it can make some really hilarious mistakes, but it'll be reasonable, and you'll be able to piece together the story going back to the 1300s, long before the church records exist, if you can find such a thing. So some conclusions for this. Ortssippenbücher are an amazing, easy-to-use resource for finding German ancestors. They can help you trace your ancestors back to the beginning of church or other records in a community. And sometimes, once you've done that, you might be able to find a farm or a house histories that will take your research even further back in time. So this concludes this part. If you've got any questions, I hope you've been typing them in the Q&A feature, and Scott will read them and we'll try to answer them.
Okay, Dan, we do have one question. Do you have tips on how to find the village or parish to get started with the right book to find all of this great information?
Actually, I've got about 18 tips, and they are, I've made a video tutorial on the St. Louis County Library website in the History and Genealogy Department. On our webpage, we've got a section of online tutorials, and one of them is finding a European place of origin. And it's 18 possible ideas on ways to do that. And the caveat there is multiple of them might work from any family, and some of them might not work for any of them, but it's you know, it's my ideas. It's not totally my ideas. We had a brainstorming session, me and a couple of people in the department several years ago, and came up with the list. And I think Scott just put the tutorial link in the chat.
Yes, I just put the link there. That's a YouTube video. Are there any other questions?
Looks like there's a bunch of stuff in the chat. I don't know if there's any questions there or not.
Let's see. Again, I have put some links in the chat. There's a link to the tutorial. There's a link to a page on the library's website that has a list of the Ortssippenbücher that we have in our collection, as well as some other information about that source. So you might want to look at that. I have a link to our library webpage for the History and Genealogy Department. Be sure to check that out and look around. There's a lot of information on there. And, you know, we're always willing to help people by email or telephone. Our libraries are closed right now because of the pandemic, but we are helping people by email. We do email lookups in our sources. We're also very happy to help people with research advice if you just call us up. Either way, if you go to our webpage, you will find our email link, and our telephone number. So comment, thank you. I learned a lot, just a beginner and feel a bit overwhelmed. Yes, this is a subject that's not really for a beginner. Of course, as Dan will tell you, the first thing to do is to do your US research and then try to discover your village of origin. And then you can see if there's one written for that village. And Vanetta says, David Menkenheim is my great-great-great-grandfather. Is David a name for something else?
Not that I know of.
I'm sure it's just a given name.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the great information. Oh, it's David, I see. So is David a name for something else in German? No, David is just a biblical name, just like it is in English. Okay, any other questions? Vanetta, did you want to say anything to the group before we close? Okay, Vanessa says, thank you so much, and we look forward to posting the link. Yeah, so as I mentioned in the introduction to this presentation, this presentation is being recorded. We will post it on our library website and on the St. Louis County Library YouTube channel. So if you missed it or you want to share it, it will be up there. I can't guarantee when it will be up there, but it will be up there fairly soon. Try to get it up there. Okay.
And thank you all for attending. It's always fun to do this. You know, doing this digitally sometimes is a little challenging. So thanks for attending.
Yeah, sorry for the kind of delay to the start of this. We're all kind of getting used to this technology, but we do thank the Tri-State Genealogical Society for giving Dan and our department this opportunity to present this program. We love doing these kinds of things for other genealogical societies outside of our own area. We have got a great collection. It's much more than just a local genealogical research collection for St. Louis. We have lots of materials for research in states east of the Mississippi, as well as we have a great German research collection. We have many other resources for other European homelands as well. So I encourage you to check out our website and find out more about us. And hopefully when this pandemic is over, you'll come and visit us as well. Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and close now. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed the class and found the information to be useful. Once again, I'd like to thank the Tri-State Genealogical Society in Evansville, Indiana for sponsoring this program. If you have any further questions or comments about this lecture, please feel free to contact the History and Genealogy Department at 314-994-3300 or by email at genealogy@slcl.org. So I'll repeat that. Telephone number is 314-994-3300. And the email address is genealogy@slcl.org. If you are watching this live, I remind you that this class has been recorded and it will be available on the library's website and the library's YouTube channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, we invite you to like this video and post a comment below. Let me see, just see if we have any last comments here. Lots of messages of thanks. We're We're glad you enjoyed the program, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. We'll be back on December 8th with another presentation for you. Thank you. Have a good night. Are you going to send me the link to post on our website? Yes, I will send you all the contact information so that it can be posted on the Tri-State Genealogical website. So once again, thank you and good evening, and we'll end the Zoom session here.
Good night.